You'd think after this many podcasts. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Conservation Cast, episode 63. Danza with $25, Snopper with $10, and Ranjan with $20. Thank you so much. Okay, fair warning, this is a little bit confusing today, okay? Your donations are going to the Pacific Marine Mammal Center. However, we are speaking to Marcus Wernicke from the BC Marine Mammal Rescue Society. And the reason, or the way that I found Marcus was through the Twitch stream called Marine Mammal Rescue. Those otters are housed at the Vancouver Aquarium. So, the otters that we've seen on Twitch are at the Vancouver Aquarium. Marcus has volunteered there. Marcus is on the board of directors at the BC Marine Mammal Rescue Society. However, your donations are going to the Pacific Marine Mammal Center. Koopa, thank you for the $77.77. The only thing that you really need to understand is that Marcus has over 4,000 hours of experience volunteering in marine mammal rehab. This podcast is about marine mammal rehab, about marine mammal rescue, about the threats that they face in the wild, and we are raising money for a rehabilitation center for those animals. So don't worry about all all the confusing stuff, all the organizations. Marcus will explain it to you, but here we are. The donations, because we have no affiliation today with Pacific Marine Mammal Center, are going into my account. I need to send the donations to their account after. So if you donate and you see that Otters Holding Hands, what's up? That is why. All right, podcast. You guys know the drill. There is a quiz at the end of the podcast. It's based on my conversation with Marcus today. There are 5 questions. You're going to get 20 seconds per question. At the end of the quiz, I'll explain it a little bit more thoroughly when we get there. But if you win the quiz, you can get a gifted sub to my channel. But if you're already subbed to my channel, then you can get a gifted sub to a channel of your choice on Twitch. Or you can ask me to donate an additional $5 to Pacific Marine Mammal Center. Warber, thank you for the $20. Big thank you for the $10. Emla with the $10. Yo, what up? Koopa, thank you for the big donation. I appreciate that. What other things am I missing? We don't need to do a poll today. It's not species specific. I'll tell you a little bit about Marcus. Okay, so Marcus is he's actually a web app developer. And he is the genius behind the live stream that is doing so well on Twitch with the otters in the pools category. Spiderland, thank you for the $10. Crash and Burn with the 20. Thank you. He's a web developer. He was born in Germany, but now he's in Canada. He's on the board as a marine mammal observer in the field for the Porpoise Conservation Society, another organization that we're talking about. Drizzy with the $150. Drizzy, thank you so much. Holy crap. And Conch with 23 and Jato with 25. Thank you. He served as a volunteer with the Vancouver Aquarium and the Marine Mammal Rescue Center in Vancouver between 2013 and 2020. The Vancouver Aquarium is where those otters are housed. They're probably live right now. I'll pull it up. And he's serving on the board of the BC Marine Mammal Rescue Society, which is a nonprofit in British Columbia, Canada, which focuses to promote the rescue, rehabilitation, and release of marine mammals and supports other orgs carrying out similar objectives. Let me go to their Twitch stream so you guys know what we're talking about. The otters that I keep talking about. Marine Mammal Rescue Center. Here they are. Take out the stinger. Alf, thank you for the 10. Hot. Otters partying in cold tub. Amazing. So, like every other podcast, if you my camera's not on. If you guys have questions today, you can use the Ask bot. You can do #ask, followed by your question. And I will relay those questions to Marcus. Mute that. While we're live. Is there anything else that I am missing? It's been a minute, or it feels like it's been a minute. All good? All good. All right. Good. We have some questions already. Questions carry the podcast. If you have questions, throw them up. I'm excited to see them. Excited to hear answers. I will be back in a minute with Marcus. Cool? Cool. Bye. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. Thanks. How are you?
Good. Okay, let's see if we can get this on screen properly. Hold on. Here and here Here. All right, cool. We're good. Welcome to the
Yay.
podcast.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
of course. Thank you so much for coming on. I told them about who we're fundraising for and then about the organizations that you worked with. But
hmm
if you want to do your own explanation of that, that would be fantastic.
Okay, let's try. I watched your intro. You
Okay.
did explain that the otters we're watching on that live stream, Marine Mammal Rescue, are actually at the Vancouver Aquarium. The Vancouver Aquarium was part of the Oceanwise Conservation Association, yet another nonprofit. As was the Marine Mammal Rescue Center that rescued most of these otters that are now at the aquarium. And that organization was basically sold due to COVID-19 depriving that original charity of funds. So they couldn't afford to run the aquarium and the rescue center anymore. So they were sold. And now the rescue center, at least, is in the process of becoming a nonprofit again, but they're not right now, which is
Mhm.
also why Marine Mammal Rescue is not currently fundraising for ourselves. That's why we're raising money for PMMC in California.
Right. Very cool. Okay. So, chat, there's your explanation. If you have questions about that, you can let us know through the Ask Bot. We already have a ton of questions. But before we get into the questions, so you have over 4,000 hours, volunteer hours with Marine Mammal Rescues
And the Vancouver Aquarium.
and the
Yes,
Vancouver
both
Aquarium.
organizations.
And,
Yeah.
okay, tell us about that. How'd you get into it? What do you like about it? What do you do?
Yeah, well, I moved here from Germany. Actually, I moved here from England, but before that, I lived for most of my life in Germany, and I never had any contact with marine life at all. There was no ocean where I lived. The
Mm-hmm.
next ocean would have been the Baltic Sea, 3 hours away. So when I first came to Vancouver, and my wife and I were discovering all the sites and checking out all the different places you could go and hang out, we found the Vancouver Aquarium, and we instantly fell in love with the place. In particular, they had rescued animals that you can't see in most places, or actually you can't see anywhere else in North America. They had a pair of harbor porpoise,
Mm-hmm.
and they're sort of a very small kind of whale cetacean. And we were fascinated immediately with those animals, and that was our first contact with marine mammals. And immediately we sort of knew that we wanted to volunteer for that place. So we joined them the very next year, just after we arrived here, and that was the first opportunity. We immediately became volunteers. Then there was a waiting time before you could volunteer with the rescue center, so we did that a year later. And yeah, then we spent thousands of hours volunteering for both organizations at the aquarium, mostly as gallery educators, talking to guests of the aquarium. They had a very strong focus on conservation education. So the goal was to engage with as many people as possible, and that we did. And then we got to the rescue center where we helped take care of those baby harbor seals, which is their number one patient. PMMC mostly has fur seals, I think, and sea lions, stuff like that, and we mostly have harbor seals. We get here in Vancouver about 150 to 180 of those little baby seal
Holy
pups every year.
cow.
Yeah, that's a lot of seals.
And those are all seals that are stranded on shore. Can you tell us about why that happens?
Yeah, most of these animals are admitted because of maternal separation. So basically, they don't have their moms anymore, and these animals are still nursing. They're fully dependent, so they would die without human intervention. That's why they're rescued.
Okay, got it. I'm pulling up. I've been pulling up a couple videos of the harbor seals that you've sent. I think these are harbor
Yeah.
seals, and they're some of the
If they are
cutest
seals, they're
animals.
definitely harbor seals. It's the
Okay.
only species of seal we get.
Okay, they're so cute.
If they have ears, they're sea lions, but there should not be any sea lion clips in there.
Mm, amazing. Okay. Um, Josie, thank you for the $10. We've done $421 in
Oh,
donations so
wow.
far, which is awesome. And
That's
we have a
amazing.
bunch of questions. Wait, okay. Last thing before we go into the questions. So you are how Marine Mammal Rescue got onto Twitch. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
We've actually been broadcasting to both YouTube and Twitch for more than a year now.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, we found that the hot tub category was being created on Twitch, and I
Yeah.
thought, hell, this is the first word was pools, and I was like, yeah, this is perfect. This is our new category, so that's why we joined the category.
That's great. And the
And
titles, you saw the meta and you were like, it's time to jump on it.
Oh yeah, those were very creative titles, so we had to copy them too. So we are appropriately branded. We didn't want to stand out, so we fit right in, I think.
I think so too. And the viewership has been great. You guys have built like a community on here, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had a small community of very dedicated people that were watching, but we mostly had like 70, sometimes 80, 90 people, concurrent viewers that were watching this. And now we have at least 1,300 at night, usually up to 2,000 during the day. So it's great.
That's crazy. And so the otters that we see on this, these are non-releasable otters at the Vancouver Aquarium, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's right. They all of them were rescued and rehabilitated, but deemed non-releasable. Either some of them come from Alaska. They were deemed non-releasable by U.S. federal government. Most of the animals are deemed non-releasable by Fisheries and Oceans Canada, which is our federal agency, mainly because we don't have a surrogate program as exists in some places in California where they can actually use a surrogate mother to get these animals back into the wild. We don't have that here for the subspecies or subpopulation, the northern sea otter. We don't have such a program because the strandings are so rare that we basically don't have the resources required to pull that off. So the animals are deemed non-releasable because they're too young at the time of rescue to have learned anything from their moms that they would need to survive in the wild.
Right.
They would usually spend about 6 months with their mothers and then pick up all those survival skills. And when we rescue them, they're usually just a few weeks old, so they don't have any of those skills.
I have a seal teething video that I pulled up. Oh my gosh. That's so ridiculous. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by all your cute videos. Okay. So, Nim, thank you for the $20. $441. That's amazing. So are you ready to go into some of these questions? Because we have
Oh yeah,
like 30.
let's go ahead. I hope I can answer them all.
Okay, cool. So okay. Can seals actually live in a hot tub? We'll move past that question. It's Bria asked, what's the biggest threat to marine mammals at the moment?
Ooh, to marine mammals. That's such a broad category
It
of
is.
animals. It's really hard to tell. For harbor seals and actually PMMC, I think in their intro video mentioned that their population of sea lions is in trouble because they have so many strandings, and I don't even know what the reason is for those mass strandings that they have. But in general, here in British Columbia, when we look at harbor seals, their population is actually doing quite well. They've rebounded from being hunted. The population was hunted down to very low numbers, and they've now rebounded and are almost back to where they used to be. But in general, I think I work also, you mentioned for the Porpoise Conservation Society, where we look at other larger marine mammals like porpoises. There's 7 species of them, and they're all facing a major threat that affects all whales, dolphins, porpoises, which is entanglement in fixed fishing nets. That is a huge threat that kills 300,000 whales, porpoises, and dolphins every year.
Oh my
And
gosh.
another major thing would probably be pollution. Our part of the Pacific, where I'm here, is known as one of the most polluted waters in the world. And our marine mammals are some of the most polluted marine mammals. Killer whales, for instance, if they strand, if they are deceased, their bodies have to be treated as toxic waste because they contain so many and dangerous,
Oh my
harmful
gosh.
elements that yeah, they have to treat them
That's
as
crazy.
toxic waste.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, well, that's a good question, though. You guys can ask a little bit more about that if you want. Um, okay, let's see what else. Oh, this is an interesting question. Spiderland asked, how do they sleep without drowning when they're out at sea? I assume he's talking about otters.
The otters, they're just extremely buoyant. These guys can't sink until they voluntarily decide they want to dive. And their fur is trapping a lot of air, and that just makes them so extremely buoyant.
Got it.
The secret is just in their fur. It's just no effort at all to them. They can just float.
That's a good question. Um, Thank you. Okay, and then we have Dwayne said, is it dangerous to touch a seal?
Eel. Well, it is illegal in the US and Canada to approach a seal and to touch the animal. If it's an adult, they have very sharp teeth and a lot of jaw pressure, so I wouldn't want to get bitten by one of those animals. They also carry zoonotic diseases, which are really unpleasant stuff like seal finger, where basically you lose your tissue to necrosis. So that's really
Oh,
unpleasant. You don't want that.
yeah, no kidding.
But in general, even those baby seals, that's another reason actually why those animals are admitted. It's human interference. So if people get too close to those little pups that we rescue, and they scare off the mom, doesn't dare to come back to for its baby, then that
Oh,
seal may actually end up with us. And that happens a lot these days. People think that those seals are stranded. There are calls like, "Yeah, the seal is stranded," and they pull it out of the water because they fear it might drown. And it's really hard to explain to people those are seals. Like they're okay.
yeah.
Like they belong to the water. They don't drown. And this animal doesn't strand. They actually spend time on land voluntarily to just chill out. And it's totally fine to have a baby seal on land while its mom is foraging and all those things. So yeah, no, don't go out there and touch seals. Just in general, don't do it.
Right.
It's either very dangerous or it gets the baby seal into trouble if it's a neonatal seal. So don't do it.
Um, quick interruption here. We had $1 from Apple. We had $100 from Koala Control, $5 from Corgi,
Wow,
7 from Anonymous, and 30 from Jude. Thank you guys. So we hit our 500 now. We're at 585 flat. So
crazy.
I do wildlife rehab too. I mentioned that to you on our call before. We have that problem so often. It's like people forget that baby animals exist in the wild. Like when they see a
Yep.
baby animal, they're immediately like, I need to help it because it's a baby. But
Mhm.
you know, like I'd say like at least 70, probably more percent of the fawns that we get in, because the mother goes out, and forages during the day and then comes back for a baby. And anyone finds a fawn, they're like, oh my gosh, it's an orphan fawn. Its mom isn't here. And they bring it in. We do so many fawns that we call kidnap cases. So that is
We
super
we
important
call
to
it
teach people about.
Yeah, we call that with harbor seals. We call that pup napping. That happens a lot too.
Pup napping. Yeah.
It's literally people just picking up the seal, putting it in their own bathtub at home. That happens,
Oh,
or they
really?
just they take it to their car. And there was one example. One gentleman picked up a seal and another seal, like two seals, and put them in a pillowcase, and then put them in the back of his car and delivered them to the rescue center. And those things do happen. It's crazy, but it does happen. But
Oh,
like you said,
jeez.
it's if you see a baby animal, you automatically want to help.
Oh,
Many years ago, I found a fledgling bird, and I also thought like, man, this little guy is in trouble. And yeah, later found out no, I had to return it to the place where I found it because
yeah.
yeah, its mom would still feed it. But yeah, if you don't know. So part of the work we do is also educating people, just telling them leave the pup alone.
For sure. Yeah, most of the calls that we get at the center are us telling them to not do anything when they're like trying to figure out how to help it. Most people don't like hearing that either. They're like, I can't just leave it
Yep.
here.
Hmm.
All right, so cool. We got that. We got oh. Eric the Orange said, do otters really hold hands when they float, or is that just a rumor?
No, they actually do that. It's really cute. We see that on our live stream a lot more than all the people that care for those otters used to. It sometimes happens at night because we have so many cameras. We can just follow them around and look at them at all the time. So we always capture those moments. But they actually do that. It's a means for them to avoid floating off. They would just hold paws, basically raft together to avoid floating off. And they also do that. In larger numbers, not just two. They may do that with more animals, but it happens at the aquarium too. And we usually post those as highlights clips because it's just too adorable.
You have yeah, there's a rafting clip that I just pulled up. Oh my gosh, they really are. I've never seen video of that. I've only heard people talking about that. That's so crazy.
Yeah, we see that a lot. It's a wild behavior. It's a learned behavior too. They don't automatically do that, and not all the otters do that at the aquarium. There used to be an older otter that was, I think, rescued from an oil spill,
Mm-hmm.
and that animal then taught all the other otters how to raft. So
Oh,
she would
really?
just swim over and grab their paws and like, come on, let's do this. And then some of them picked up on it and continue to teach that to other otters, and that's what still happens. That's how they learn it, and
That's
it's
so
it's
cool.
so cute to watch.
It's so cute. They're such cute animals. I feel like every time I click into the stream, they always have something on their stomach. Like they're always carrying something or playing with something. What is that
Yep.
about? They're just super tactile.
No, they're very smart and they love toys and they love to figure things out. There's one of the otters that, sometimes you see these boomer balls that have like a piece of foam attached to it, like with a knot. And this particular animal, Kunik, likes to untie those knots, and she's figured out how to do that. And now she can repeat this every time. So every time they give her one of those toys, she will figure out to actually undo that knot, and they only like to do it under supervision because she would actually be able to clog up the drain of one of the pools and then cause havoc there. So only under supervision. Very smart animals. They really love to play with all kinds of toys, and for some reason they have those buckets that they like to balance on their bellies, and they have those like kelp blankets, as we call them. Kelp. They're actually also just foam, but it resembles kelp. Yeah, they just love doing this. It's also when you see them being fed, the trainers will sometimes just throw food on their bellies. It's also just they use their bellies as tables. It's just a natural way for them to eat their food, and that's what they do.
Gosh, their hands are so short. Such little hands. Okay.
Yes, we call them T-Rex arms sometimes.
They really are.
They're so tiny.
Oh my gosh, they're so
Very
cute.
short.
Okay. Let's see. More questions about threats. Do you have any fun otter facts? We've been talking about otters, so if you don't have any off the top of your head, that's okay.
Not spontaneously. We talked about rafting, which is one of the most fascinating things. Another thing that's related to the earlier question, how they manage to float and not sink. Their fur is the densest in the animal kingdom.
Oh, really?
So it's so dense that the skin underneath that fur never actually gets wet. And that is their way of staying warm, because they do live in those very cold waters here in the Northeast Pacific, and it's just extremely cold sometimes. And if they were exposed to that for a very long time, they would get sick. So they have this fur that they constantly need to maintain, which is the other thing that you see if they're not sleeping and they're not eating and they're not playing. They're usually just grooming themselves. And grooming their fur is really an enormously important activity for them to keep that fur nice and clean, and then it's completely dry underneath, so they just don't get wet. They can't feel the water because they're so well insulated.
Got it. Okay, this is a good question about threats, a more specific question. So the Fire Punch said microplastics are a big threat to marine wildlife. Is it common to find marine mammals facing this problem? If so, how can you treat them?
Treatment questions will probably be best addressed to a vet. Yes, we do find marine mammals, all kinds of marine mammals, with plastics in their stomach. Again, Porpoise Conservation Society related, we do have porpoises and all kinds of whales that do swallow plastics, just as sea turtles do. The Rescue Center rescues sea turtles as well, even though it's very rare. They only get here when they're cold stunned, but they swallow a lot of plastic items as well, like plastic bags in particular. And it's basically just affecting all wildlife. I've seen birds with basically their stomachs filled with plastics, and the same thing happens with marine mammals too. It obstructs their stomachs, and then they're basically not able to eat anymore, and they just starve to death. So
we talked to chat. What was the organization called? We talked to Sea Turtle Organization from Australia, and they talked about plastic bags because they eat a lot of jellyfish. Is that a problem? Is there? I think there's a video.
Yeah, because it looks so similar.
Right. Yeah. Isn't there Joey and his jelly? Wait, this isn't a jellyfish. That's an actual.
No. Yeah, I'm not sure. I get the.
It's just a toy. That's so cute.
Yes, he had some odd reaction to that toy, which is why we put that video up. I'm not sure if you play it for long enough with audio, you hear him scream when the caretaker at the rescue center gets that close to his face.
Oh.
Which is why that was so adorable.
So what are yeah, we just heard the scream. What are their diets like between sea otters and the harbor seals and sea lions? Is it similar?
Yeah, I actually looked this up today because so many marine mammals are opportunistically feeding on just about anything. And for sea otters, they consume over 100 prey species. So it really
Wow,
depends
really?
on,
Oh my
yeah, that's
gosh.
they have a very high metabolism, so they need to eat a lot of food, and they will eat anything from invertebrates like sea urchins. They do eat clams, mussels, abalone, mollusks, crustaceans, snails, like whatever you throw at them, they will eat it. And at the aquarium, we mostly feed them clams. That's the pinkish meat that you'll see the trainers throw onto their bellies. That's an expensive food item, but it's nutritious and they love it.
My sister said she was kayaking in California on the coast, and she said that she saw a sea otter eating a bird. They eat birds as well? Or did she not see that
Um,
correctly?
Not, I don't know. I mean, they might try. I've seen a dolphin try and eat a bird. So
Really?
sure, why
That's
not?
crazy.
Yeah, one of the prey items mentioned for sea otters is also that they would try to eat a giant Pacific octopus. So
Oh my
I've
gosh.
seen seals try. I've never seen a sea otter try that. So should be interesting to watch.
Yeah, no kidding. She told me that, and I was like, I have never heard of that. I don't know that that's a thing. But there you go. Very cute. Okay, let's go back to more questions. We got um, Avery said, "Why are baby seal eyes so large and dank?"
Yeah, they need those eyes to see underwater because they dive quite deeply, and in the at those depths, there is not a lot of light that penetrates, so they need those giant eyes to see. And it's not just the babies; it's just in relation. Like I don't know why babies always have the bigger eyes in relation to the rest of their bodies, but yeah, seals and sea lions in general have very large eyes. It really helps them see.
That is so cool. Um, we got Wild Nature. Thank you for the 5. Snapper with the 10, and Big. Thank you for the $1. I appreciate that as well. Okay, another question. Are seals solitary or do they live in groups in the wild? That's a good question.
Yeah. You may see seals alone or just with one body hanging out, and that's perfectly normal when they're out in the ocean and when they're foraging. They tend to be on their own. They're quite solitary, but they do get together on large haul-out sites, which is where they spend the night and where they sleep and where they rest. And that's where you can see large aggregations of harbor seals come together as well. But and
Cool.
if you see them in the water, you'll usually just see one, maybe two. It's rare to see more.
I have a release video playing right now, and there's a tag. Do you tag all the, or do they tag all the animals that they release?
What kind of tag is that? Is it just the little orange thing
Yeah,
on
the
their
orange
hind
thing on the
flipper?
tail.
Yeah,
Flippers.
that's just a number on there, and that helps to identify the animal if it re-strands, and that's a legal requirement, or at least Fisheries and Oceans Canada requires the rescue center to tag those animals so they can be identified again.
Very cool.
Some also get a satellite tag and are tracked, but those tags are prohibitively expensive.
No
So
kidding. Yeah.
I've heard something like $5,000 per piece. So it's only a small number, and they don't track them every year.
Right.
It's usually
Um,
to answer some scientific question that they have, and then they do tag them.
right. Apple, I think, asked this before and donated $1. Said, "Is it possible to rescue an orphan baby whale or narwhal?"
Baby whale or narwhal. That's oddly specific. In the case of a narwhal, I know that there have been historically some attempts to keep these animals in captivity. They're very closely related to beluga whales, and I don't know. It might be possible. I've never seen it done. Like nobody, as far as I know, has ever rescued a baby, say, narwhal and rehabilitated that animal.
I've
Never
never
heard
heard
of
of
it. And
one in captivity.
I know that the narwhals in captivity all died. Those
Oh,
were
well, that's why.
experiments in the 60s or 70s, and the animals didn't make it. But in general, whales, porpoises, dolphins, yes, we can rescue those animals. We can release them. The rescue center here rescued a harbor porpoise named Levi in 2013, I believe, and that was an adult or subadult animal, and he was successfully rehabilitated and released back into the wild. They have rescued and rehabilitated neonate harbor porpoises as well, but it's the same as if those with those baby sea otters, because they depend on maternal learning so much. These animals were deemed non-releasable, so they lived at the Vancouver Aquarium and lived out their lives there. But yeah, it can be done. The animals can be rehabbed, and they can be released if they're old enough to know survival skills.
Very cool. Good question, though. Thank you. Okay, a few people have asked if otters play games and how do they have fun? If otters have fun, how do they have fun? Things like that.
They have fun all the time. Like I'm not sure if I were to tune into the live stream now. Let me look into the cam interface what they're doing right now, but I'm pretty sure that they're having some sort of fun right now. They're always playing, they're interacting with each other. They're very tactile, very social animals. Um, you see them wrestling sometimes, especially the boys. They just love doing that, and they're all like, I've never seen these animals bored. They're always up to something.
Yeah.
Like they always find something to do. When they're not sleeping, they're up to something. So yeah, they play all the time. I'm not sure if they play games, but they play.
Very cool. And otters do live in groups, correct? Whereas the seals are more solitary.
Actually, good question. I'm not entirely sure. They do aggregate in groups. They don't. I don't think they have family groups
Okay.
or any fixed defined social units like dolphins. Or a better example would be like killer whales, which have like a group that has a fixed group dynamic, and the same group stays together all the time, and they never separate. They don't have something like that. So they do come together in aggregations, but not as family groups or something like that.
Okay. Chess tip $50. Thank you so much. And said, other than financially, what are other ways to support the cause?
I think right now, especially this year, we're getting so many cases of, and probably applies to all wildlife, due to human interference, just spreading the word about these animals that, right now, for instance, in BC, it's pupping season. These animals are being born. They may be out on the beach. They may be alone. They may be out there for many, many hours, but they're not actually in distress. They don't need rescue. Leave the animals alone. Leave them right where they are. They're not stranded. They're not dying. If you think that the animal might have some problem because it's like very skinny or it has any obvious injuries, then call your local wildlife rescue. And usually when you call one of them, they have the phone numbers for every other wildlife rescue that there is. Like if you call a bird rescue place, they usually have the phone number for like at the squirrel rescue place, and they can help you get the Marine Mammal Rescue numbers too. So yeah,
Right.
call
Yeah.
any wildlife rescue. They will probably point you in the right direction.
Yeah. Always call before you pick it up, chat. That's what I like to tell people too. Okay. Thank you for that question and for the donation. We're at $653 in donations, guys. I appreciate that. Your donations today are going to the Pacific Marine Mammal Center. So thank you very much. Benedek asked why otters like ice so much.
Yeah, good question. They would never encounter that in the wild. So it's really just a thing that we give them in captivity. It's just an enrichment item. They obviously like to lie on it. They like to eat it. They like to fight over it. It's just a great way to give them some additional hydration. Normally, all marine mammals, they get all the water that they need to live from the food that they eat, and these otters there get some additional water in the form of ice. They like to crunch on it as they would like on crustaceans, based on some of the species that they eat in the wild. It's just a natural thing for them, so they just enjoy it. And on hot days, right now it's super hot in Vancouver. We're having a heat wave. And it's just a great way for them to stay cool. So they will just lounge on a huge pile of ice and just sleep on it and do that for hours. So
Nice.
they love it.
And then I saw a video online recently about, they were talking about giving them ice to mimic tool use and cracking things open. Do they use tools, or is that a thing?
Yeah, it's otters do that actually. They will use rocks to break open shells, and we have some videos I think we could just call it like a drummer video or something, where it looks like air drumming, but the otter's actually mimicking this behavior where it would use a rock to smash open a shell
Yeah.
to get to food. Yeah, they're one of those species that are actually capable of using tools, and we don't give them rocks at the aquarium because they would just break the glass.
Oh,
Because they're very patient. They would just
I
keep
didn't think
trying
about
until it
that.
happens.
Yeah. Oh
So
no.
ice is where it stops. That's hard enough.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, they can.
Otherwise, the repair costs would be a bit high.
There's a lot of power in those little arms. I'm actually impressed. I pulled up a video of them using a rock for breaking something open. That's cool.
Yeah.
Jay tipped $1, said, "What should we do if we see an injured seal? What steps should we take?" So we just kind of went over that. Just call the closest wildlife rehab center that you have there. If you have a Marine Mammal Rescue Center nearby, even better. But either way, you'll get directed to the right place. But call somebody before you pick it up and put it in your truck or put it in your bathtub or whatever people do, I guess.
Yeah, and if it's a busy place, sometimes it's a beach area that's frequented by a lot of people with their pets. We usually say keep pets and onlookers away. So that's also an important thing. So usually when you call the rescue center and if they will ask you to send them pictures and video of the animal, they will assess if it actually needs help. And if there's an accumulation of a lot of people, they will actually call the federal government and ask them to come out there and keep people off and maybe post signs there, warn them that they need to stay away because it's actually illegal to approach the animals. And just, pets can cause severe injuries to those little pups. So good idea to keep dogs especially away from them.
Nice. And then another question here is something that I've heard also that I don't know that is true, and that's do sea otters really have favorite rocks that they hold on to on purpose?
Well, wild sea otters, yeah, they do apparently. That is a fact. That's
Really?
true.
Just one they
Yeah,
find one that
they
works,
have
huh?
they have little skin pockets underneath those T-Rex arms, and they can hold on to food
They
or
do?
rocks. Tools.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yes.
that. That's cool.
I'm not sure if we have a clip of that in our clips, but yes, they do have pockets.
Pockets? Okay, hold
Yes.
on. Let me look through your clips here.
Initially, when they're this little, when they get to the rescue center, they can't use them there. They don't know what to do with it, and it's so small they could probably hold something the size of a peanut. But as they get older, they can store food there, and they sometimes do. Like you sometimes see them randomly pull out a piece of food, even though the last feed was hours ago, and then they
Oh,
start eating that, and you are like, where did this come from? And yeah, it's actually from their pockets.
crazy. I did not know that. I would not have guessed that. I've never heard that either. Chat. Learn something new every day. Okay. Cool. And then it's another question about their social. Um, so a question a little bit away from the animals. Space asked, what kind of app development does he do specifically, and do you do any of it to help with conservation, or is that separate?
I develop mostly web-based applications, and I have actually developed a software that it's called Transect Pro that we use with the Porpoise Conservation Society and now giving to other charities as well.
Oh,
That is used for scientific data recording, because there's basically we work with volunteers a lot, and I'm a volunteer in the field as well. And the scientific software that is available is usually so complicated to use and written by data scientists who basically have never seen a real normal human user, and that's why I wrote the software to make that easier for volunteers to use with
nice.
nice big colorful buttons and
Oh,
an
that's
intuitive user
important.
interface. That is important, yes, so that people with very little training can actually use the software and record data accurately. Because usually those scientific software, if you do make the slightest mistake, then you end up with an invalid data, and it results in poor data quality. And That's
Right.
not something we want. And data is actually very important for conservation. A lot of the conservation projects only get started when there's hard data to support the hypothesis that an animal is actually in trouble for porpoises and also for pinnipeds. We rely on population estimates that usually come from land-based surveys or vessel-based surveys where people need to actually collect data and collect data over many years to see whether a population is increasing or declining. And only when you have that kind of data, then you can actually go to the government and say, we need some action here
Right.
because as a population, we have the evidence that the species is in trouble. And yeah, that's why that helps conservation.
Got it. Very cool. Space. Thank you for that question. That was neat.
Cool question.
Leonard, thank you for the $15. We're at $669 now. I have a very specific question, and I certainly don't have the answer. I'm not sure that you do it. If you don't, that's fine. But Rue asked, do you see many cases of T. gondii due to kelp loss and urchin encroachment, or sickness due to mussels accumulating pollutants?
Yeah, that's very specific, something that I would refer to a veterinarian. That is probably not something that I should answer. I probably
Okay,
could try, but I don't want to.
cool. That's fine. Elf tip
I don't want to
three
give
dollars.
I don't want to give people false information, so
Oh, for
better
sure,
to
for
ask
sure.
a professional.
Elf said, does it take a long time for the animals to become acclimated to living in captivity? Do they struggle, or is it a difficult process?
Hmm. Well, the those sea otter pups, I assume that's referring to the sea otter pups. When they get to the rescue center, they are just these little fluff balls. They don't really have a lot of perception of what's happening around them. Probably very much like a human newborn baby, hardly knows what's going on,
Right.
and they're basically brought up by people. They need intensive care around the clock. Somebody always needs to be there. Not only do they need to be fed every couple of hours, they also need constant attention. Somebody needs to groom them because their mom would actually do that, and they're not capable of it yet. It's also sort of like it's an instinctual behavior, but they sort of need to figure this out themselves over time. And yeah, there's somebody with them 24/7. They grow up with people, and then they're very slowly introduced to other otters. Until then, they probably don't even know what they are. So yeah, because they grow up in captivity, basically, I think I've never seen any issues with acclimate.
Acclimation.
Yeah, yeah, that word. Getting used to getting used to that captive environment.
Right.
They've always very gradually been integrated into that, and it probably takes them more time to learn how to be an otter. Because they like Joey was afraid of water. We have a video that is called "Joey's Afraid of the Water" or something, where he was trying
Sweet.
to like keep his head out of the water so he doesn't get wet. Because he didn't know what that was. He found that very scary. I remember the first time we put him in a little tub with water, just a tiny like a bowl, like barely the size of a salad bowl, and put the animal in there. And you know, they float instinctively, like automatically, very high above the water. But yeah, he didn't like that at all. He didn't like it. Like any contact with water was something he wasn't into at all. Took a while.
Yeah. Um, good. Thank you for the $10. Uh, Apple tipped another dollar and asked another question and said, how much time do otters spend in the water compared to on land?
In the wild, sea otters will spend their entire lives in the water. They don't get out of the water at all. It's basically, probably, I'm thinking, to avoid predators because there's a lot of predators on land, and if they never go on land, they don't have to deal with that. So
Right.
they're out on the open ocean, and in captivity, it's a different story. Probably because they're used to being on land. Like Joey, the sea otter that got our live stream started. Would spend most of the day in a crib and would then just have little baths where they would take him out to a tub and have them in the water for like 20 minutes or so, and then he would go back into his crib. So spend so much time on land that they're kind of used to that, and it's a nice way for them to easily get dry and to groom themselves. So they just like to sleep on land at the aquarium, but it's not a wild sea otter behavior. They wouldn't do that in the wild at all.
Right. Wait, so the baby videos that we have here of Joey, is this an otter that's on the live stream?
Yes, he is not that little anymore, although he's still one of the smaller ones. He's
Oh my
some
gosh,
of our
Joey's
some of our
birthday week. It's his birthday.
it's his birthday week. Yeah, it still is.
Oh
It's
my
it's and
gosh.
it's ending this week. He's one year old now.
Oh my gosh. What the
He had a
heck?
big birthday party. We had a pre-birthday party, and then we had the actual birthday party, and there's going to be a lot more partying going on. That's why our current title is Partying, because our e-otters are
Uh,
currently still partying in our co-tub.
yes. Very cool. Um,
It's what e-otters do.
it's what you are. Got it. Um, Corgi Tip $3 said, "What's your naming process, or do you just name them
And
whatever comes to mind when they come in?"
um, usually for the harbor seal pups, we have a sort of a list of names. Usually every year that we go down and then name them after a certain naming scheme. This year, I think it's anything goes.
Yeah.
We name them very randomly. I think we have a lot of animals named after food items this year, like popcorn and sushi and names like this. But we also had an interesting theme, I think, in 2019, where we named them after, or 2020 even, we named them after celebrities. There was like Shellen DeGeneres, and I
Hi.
don't know. We had so cool names. I have to look some
Wait,
up.
there's a video. I saw that of Shellen.
20,
Here it is.
2019, we had The Codfather, Anemone.
Oh my god.
We had Marlon Gaye, Paris
Nice.
Quilton,
Wow. That's a lot of
Viola.
effort.
Oh yeah, people loved it though. We
Yeah.
had David Hasselhoff, Marge Shrimpson.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had some we had some really cool names there. Yeah. Gate Hudson, Fishy Tegan, Reef Witherspoon, um, Bill Fry, the science guy, Betty Whitefish, Sean Cannery, Steven Spielberg. Yeah,
Yes, of course.
we had some great fun with those names.
Nice. Um, Roots of $10. Thank you. And asked if you have do you have a favorite species that you've worked with?
Yes, harbor porpoise. That's why I ended up at the Porpoise Conservation Society. It was because of Jack and Daisy, the two animals that the rescue center had rescued as babies and that couldn't be released. And I saw those animals up close at the aquarium, and that got me involved in conservation. That was when I was like, I want to know more about the species and I want to learn more about it. I want to meet people that know a lot more than I do about these animals, and I want to become involved in their conservation because it's a species that is very, very abundant in many parts of the world, but it's also critically endangered in other parts of the world as individual populations are facing threats like entanglement on fixed fishing nets. And the vaquita porpoise, the most endangered marine mammal in the world, is also a porpoise, a relative of the harbor porpoise, lives only in Mexico. There's probably less than 10 animals left today.
Yeah,
Um,
we talked about this very briefly with whale and dolphin conservation when they were on the
mhm.
podcast. That is such cool looking animals too. It's so sad. Man.
Yeah, they're beautiful. But those are like the seven species of porpoise. There's only seven of them. I love them all. They're very special animals, and they're often overlooked because they're quite shy and they don't do all the cool dolphin things. They don't come up to people. They don't jump out of the water. They don't follow boats. And they only spend about 5% of their lives on the surface. 95% of their lives happen underwater. That's why we know so little about them because they're very hard to study. And
Yeah.
I spent many, many, many hours every year studying harbor porpoise for the Porpoise Conservation Society, just observing these animals, staring out of the ocean for 8 hours at a time, looking for these animals, counting them, looking what kind of behaviors we see, whether we have females with their calves, and also what kind of threats we notice during that time. So yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I'm glad you asked that question because we didn't talk about those very much. Okay, so we have a couple of minutes left here. There are a lot of good questions, chat. Thank you for all of your questions today. But I do. We touched on it earlier, but I like to ask if these people that are watching aren't in the field, don't have the time to volunteer necessarily. What is the best way that they can support the conservation of these animals that we were talking about today?
Well, donating money to those causes is obviously a great thing, as you're all doing today for PMMC. That always helps because all these there are a lot of smaller nonprofits that don't have a lot of money. They're not all Greenpeace, they're not all WWF, and they're
Right.
not all Whale Dolphin Conservation, which have access to a lot more funds than those small nonprofits. So, yeah, give money, even small amounts, even if you only have $5 to give money to those causes. There's a lot of smaller organizations there around the world that do amazing conservation work, that do research. Research is very important. I mentioned earlier data. Data is really, really important. Research should not be discounted for conservation because it's really where the data comes from that we need to then push governments to take action. And those small nonprofits that study species that nobody else is looking into and have very specific missions regionally, especially, they need a lot of money. So give them your money, even if it's just a little bit.
There you go. We are at $726 today, so thank you guys if you
Amazing.
donated. Marcus, is there anything else that you would like to share before we close up here?
No, just come and watch our e-otters on Marine Mammal Rescue on Twitch.
There you go.
They're
Mods.
hilarious. I should mention one really cool thing that came out yesterday. There was actually a student, a psychology student, and she was affected by the live stream of Joey last year because she said it helped her deal with like mental health issues, anxiety, and stuff like that,
Aw.
just watching these animals. And she did a study. She interviewed 500 people from around the world and asked them how watching that live stream had influenced their lives. And those were amazing results. There were people like suffering from PTSD, all kinds of mental health issues that reported that just watching the animals just helped them overcome those things. They became calmer. They started to be able to handle their anxiety better, things like that. So
Wow.
that's a super cool fact. So yeah, ask your doctor whether watching otters is good for you. And, it's definitely good for me. I have it on a separate screen all day. I just watch them all the time. They're not just hilarious; they're also just really calming. Maybe it's the water. I don't know.
Yeah,
It
no,
just
I
works.
do the same thing. When I'm working at my computer, I'll have the stream open, at least for the audio, because I like the water sounds. But that's
It helps
cool.
me sleep too. I have that running
Yeah.
at night as well.
Chat, you can follow Marine Mammal Rescue on Twitch there. You can find them in the pools, hot tubs, and beaches section. Uh, Go check them out. Felix, thank you for
Sure
the five.
can.
Hey, Lori, thank you for the five, and Steph with the $10. Marcus, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We raised $746 so far. I'll let you know what the final amount is once we finish the actual stream today.
So
But
exciting.
this was super cool. Thank you for answering all of those questions. I appreciate your time.
Anytime. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, sweet. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Bye.
All right, bye. So nice. Okay, I could watch those videos that he sent all day. Chat. Look, they're so cute, all of them. Like, are you kidding? Look at them go. More. Teething. Play them all. I'll play them while I'm talking right now. Thank you for the $3. We have a quiz to take care of, chat. Quiz based on my conversation with Marcus today. It's 5 questions. Relax. You don't lose anything if you don't win. Hello, let me VIP Marine Mammal Rescue here. Do 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 do. Pull up another video. Wait. What is this? Power washing. Oh. Okay. Power washing. Sammy. Hello, Sammy. Oh, he looks nice. Thank you for the Twitch Prime. The quiz is, how do we do the quiz if we joined late? Guess. The way that you win the quiz is getting the most answers correct the fastest. 5 questions, you get 20 seconds to answer each question. Do not take all 20 seconds because then you won't win. I will try to read out the questions before. We already watched this one. Before, oh my gosh, Joey again. I love him. Before you see them on screen. And if you win the quiz, if you're not already a sub to my channel, I'll gift you a sub to my channel. But if you are subbed, you get a gifted sub to a channel of your choice, or you can ask me to donate an additional $5 to Pacific Marine Mammal Center today. So yeah, that's what's up with the quiz. Make sure you enable access so that I can see your username so that it doesn't show up as contestant number blank blank blank. But if you did that, do not worry about your name not showing up until the end because the quiz extension is scuffed. Cool? Chuck, thank you for writing the quiz questions as always. Sydney, thank you for the $5. Solienta, thank you for the $5. Quiz kit, let's see if we can do this quickly. Create, edit, quiz. What do you guys think of that? We haven't had a it feels like we haven't had a species-specific podcast in a minute. Maybe I'm crazy. Good. Great, do it again next week. Man, Bernie is so upset about the podcast slowing down. I'm sorry, man. You gotta do what you gotta do. Open. All right, we imported 5 questions. Okay. Here we go, chat. Save quiz. And it begins. Are you ready? It takes so many clicks to do this. It's kind of stupid. All right. It's sending rules to you guys. I'm going to open this doc so I can see what you're clicking on. Is it starting? Why isn't it working? Where is it? Wait, is it starting? It like why? It opens a new tab. Okay, start game. Here we go. Life, thank you for the $10 donation. Yo. Now it's frozen. I love this extension. I love it so much. Oh my, okay. How many volunteer hours does Marcus have at the Vancouver Marine Mammal Center? I'm sorry. It wasn't supposed to start. I had to open a new tab to start it and it opened in a different tab. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It switched. Well, you're all at a disadvantage, so think about it like that. I didn't watch the beginning. You gotta guess, man. It's okay. It's okay. You don't lose anything if you don't win. You only gain something if you win. The correct answer is over 4,000 volunteer hours, which is a crazy amount of hours. It's 192 people got that correct. Well done. My score is -18. That's okay. It's the comeback. You can come back up. You'll be fine. All right. Question number 2 is, what is the most common marine mammal found at the Vancouver Marine Mammal Center? Is it dolphins, harbor seals, sea lions, or walruses? People are saying easy. Ferron is mad. Space misclicked. Show scores after true. I forgot. Sorry. Easy. I have no idea. I said walruses. We didn't say a single word about walruses this whole podcast. Stealthy. No way. Stealthy! God. Okay. The correct answer is harbor seals. 253 people got that. Don't call him a nerd. Stop. He's doing great work. He's doing work for the people. He literally gave you guys his notes for free. What doorknobs? Thank you for the $5. Yo. Show scores. All right. Stealthy. You see what happens when you're a nerd? This is what. Don't call him a nerd. Look at this. Look at this. All right, the next question, chat. Where do baby seals learn the skills needed to survive in the wild? From their father, from the internet, it's instinct, or from their mothers? Ice cubes is unfortunately not the correct answer. Nor is Google, and Reddit is also incorrect. Dobbins, there's no way you're making a comeback at this point. There's no way. It's an extension to do the quiz. It should just pop up on your screen. From the Conservation Cast. The correct answer is from their mother. But 151 people said that it was instinct. That answer doesn't work because, remember, he said that they have some that are deemed non-releasable just because they don't have surrogates. So, show scores, Cinny. But Stealthy is still in the lead, and nobody is catching up because Stealthy took notes through the podcast like a good student. The next question we have is, according to Marcus, how many porpoises, whales, and dolphins die from an entanglement each year? Oh my gosh, Chuck. That's a hard question. I don't remember. Is it around 50,000? Is it around 100,000? Around 12,000? Or around 300,000? That's a hard question. A Selfie wrote 3K. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's not in the notes. The correct answer is around 300,000. My God, that's insane. Is that correct? That's crazy. Holy cow, 300,000 is correct. All right, well, who got it right the fastest? Mark, Frost, Mel, but Stealthy is still in the lead. Is anyone going to pull ahead of Stealthy in this last question? Here we go. What does the Marine Mammal Center feed sea otters most often? Sea otter diets, chat. Is it fish, clams, squid, or sea urchins? 10 seconds to answer. Waiting for players. The correct answer is clams. 195 people thought it was fish, but it's clams. Who won? Stealthy! Deserved. Stealthy won the quiz and he deserved it. Well done. Well done, well done, well done. W nerd. Okay. Just give him 5. Locker Space, could you add $5 to the donation goal, please? Because I need to send this all over after. Look at Stealthy's notes. What a star student. So cool. All right, chat, that's it for the podcast today. I mentioned it on he got one wrong. Well, I mentioned it on my last stream. I'm going to be live in like an hour, by the way. But Bernie, chill. I'm going to explain this. Well done, chat. Well done. So, Conservation Cast is a wonderful thing. I'm not dropping it. I'm not killing the Conservation Cast. However, I have very little time nowadays with Alveus and with everything else that I'm doing. So the way that it's going to run going forward, instead of doing it once a month, I'm going to do it if I have a guest that I want to bring on or if somebody requests an episode. So I don't know when they're going to be. It won't be on a consistent schedule anymore. I can tell you that much. But they will still happen, just probably not as often. Or, I mean, if there's 2 people that want to do a podcast in a month, then I'll do 2 podcasts, you know? But yeah, that's where I'm at with the podcast. I request an episode. Another? For what? What do you mean? Me too. Okay. This was the first podcast episode I caught live. Aw, sad. No, not with me. No, that's not how it works. I mean, if there's a guest that requests an episode, like they want to, like they want to come on the Conservation Cast, because it's a great tool for platforming other scientists that don't otherwise have the opportunity to teach people of this demographic. It's a great networking tool as well, for myself and for Alveus, and for them to also have an entry into this world. I think it's super important. So I don't want to say that it's the last episode, because it's not. But does that make sense? Cool. All right. So, thank you guys for watching. We're at episode 63. I know some of you really love this. I'm sorry. I mean, it's down to once a month anyway. It's really not going to be that different, probably. We'll see. So, thank you for the 8 months. Thank you for the subs today. Animated emotes, not now. I have to go to a tech rehearsal for Twitch Rivals, but I will be live at what? Shoot, what time? There's a new video also. A new YouTube video. Danny said just a second. What time do I have to be live for Twitch Rivals? Oh, crap. Twitch Rivals starts at 5 today. We're doing Gardic phone with, I don't know who all is on it. I think there's a Botez, T-Pain, Sasha Grey. I don't know who else, to be honest. But I'm doing that today. So I'll see you for that. And then I'll see you tomorrow morning for a keeping stream, and Tico and Miley will be out there because the aviary is done. So there's a couple things that they need to do to the aviary. They need to paint it, and they need to add a couple support things, but they're going to do that all in one day. So we just have to move the parrots out one day while they paint, and then we can put them back. But it's all up. It's all secure. So one day copium. Yeah. I mean, worst case, they're just on the porch for a couple days, but they'll be fine there. So there you go. You guys will see it tomorrow, chat. I realize like how much frustration has come from the aviary, but it is insane. Thank you for the $21. Like, I feel guilty because of how nice it is. Like, it worries me because I'm like, did I put too much into this? Because this is so overkill. Like, it's so sturdy. It's so nice. But then it's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know why I would feel like that, but it's just like, damn, like, this is so ridiculous. So you guys will see it tomorrow. It is just absurd. I don't know how else to describe it to you. I haven't seen an enclosure that nice outside of an AZA facility in my whole life. So I'm hyping it up a lot, but it is ridiculous. So you'll see it tomorrow, but I'll see you in 2 hours, just under. The way you're quantifying overkill is it's too sturdy. Dobbins, you gotta see it, man. It's fucking freaking massive. It's so tall. It's steel beams. It's custom wire that I like. You could put a big cat in there. You'll see when you come to Texas and check it out. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I will host somebody, but I'm going to yoink it back in like 2 hours. So that's okay. I'll do it anyway. Is Russell still live? Yes. All right, I'm going to raid Russell. It's Wantep's birthday? Okay, I'm raiding Wantep. Is it? It's just Wantep now. Yeah, okay. Thank you guys for watching the podcast. I'll see you in a couple hours for Twitch Rivals. Big time. Big time. Go say happy birthday to Wantep. I didn't know it was his birthday. And there's a new video. Danny, nice. Danny, spam that. Chat. New YouTube video if you want to check it out. Good job, Danny. Thank you so much. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. I don't think I'm missing anything. All right. I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye.